I don't know if everybody knows everybody, but I'm not sure I know at least one person. So if we could just go around the room and introduce ourselves, starting with Marcia, would you do that?
All right, yeah, sure. I'm Marcia Martin. I am the city council liaison to this board, and I have been for the last 5 years because I won't give it up to another council member. I love it so much. So, new members, pleased to meet you.
Nice to meet you. I'm Ruth. Madly taking notes, so I do have only one request. If you second a motion, say it loud enough so I know who you are doing it. Thank you.
Oh, Beth Bowles.
I thought you were pausing for a minute.
No, I was somewhere else. I'm sorry, Beth Bowles.
Brandy Queen, I'm the Supportive Services Supervisor on the staff.
Jeff Friesner, I'm with Recreation, Library, and Museum.
Robin Bosica, I'm the admin assistant. Robin here, I'm not usually here, just a guest today.
Okay, so you're the famous Robin.
I'm Janine Tarrant, on the board. This is my 4th year.
I'm Sheila Conroy. I'm on the board, and I think this is my second or third year.
Okay.
I'm Mark Quintana, I've been on board, and I brought a guest with me, Manuela Chavez. If you want to tell them what you do, Manuela.
I'm the family liaison for the St. Valley School District for the east side.
I'm sorry for the
East side?
no for the school district.
St. Green Valley,
Okay.
yes.
And I've invited her to come in
Thank
to sit in the meeting and hopefully sign up to.
You.
Yeah,
And I'm Dave Brona. I'm the recently elected president, and this is my second meeting actually. And I've been on the board for about 1.5 years now. So, I will say that since the last meeting, I thought I knew something about the senior center. I don't know anything. And I've read a lot, studied a lot, and talked to people, and I've learned a lot this last month. Hopefully it'll help. Okay, public invited to be heard. Is anybody here, the public, and want to be heard? If not, let's move to the minutes of the January 4 meeting. Any corrections or additions to the minutes?
I need to say I thought the minutes were excellent.
Move to approve.
Yeah, last meeting was tough to follow, at least I found it tough to follow, and we did a good job. I will say that I believe Art was at the meeting last time, January 4th. In the minutes I have, he's not listed as a member, as having attended.
How do I add
Just
something?
just add it, just correct the minutes.
Just make a note.
Yeah, just make a note.
I called meeting to order, so. That's on there.
I know you're there.
I did a good job on it.
Okay.
Thank you, Ruth.
And on the second, we were talking about when we elected Art, there was a second. I went back and I looked at the video, and I know there was a second. I just couldn't hear who it was for sure. Does anybody want to take credit for that, or responsibility, maybe I should say?
I think I want to take credit for it.
You do?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Julie.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Sorry that happened. That was my fault. Okay, seconded by Julie.
Maybe you should school.
And then the move to approve with no corrections by Julie, seconded by, and again, we didn't, I didn't hear it. You seconded the minutes? Okay.
Whatever.
So you can make
So
that.
you made the motion to approve,
Right.
and who seconded it? Did we do?
Yeah, you made the motion. Did we have a second?
Oh, no. Yes, also.
Okay.
All right.
All right, let's, if it's acceptable to everybody, we'll just say the motion was seconded. Because I can remember that there was a motion, but I just can't remember what it was.
School district.
Okay, okay.
I seconded it a few times. You can put my name
You
there.
did too?
I've seconded, but
Okay, Beth.
I'm not sure if it was, but that's okay.
Well, can we put your name in there?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I'm volunteering.
I'm volunteering.
You gotta watch me.
You might put me in a place I don't wanna be, right?
All right, are there any other corrections or additions to the minutes? If not, I'll entertain a motion for, well, I'll entertain a motion for approval.
I thought we had done it.
It had to be moved as corrected.
Oh,
That's
as corrected, okay.
Okay. Is there a motion?
I make a motion
Okay.
to correct the minutes as corrected.
Correct, minutes as corrected, there you go.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Something like that.
Right?
That's my first
Except
time.
the
Okay, is there a
minutes as
second?
It's a lot of fun.
I'll second.
Okay, Sheila seconds. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Right.
Technically, if, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think under Robert's rules, I looked for it, I couldn't find it. Technically, a motion to approve the minutes, I don't think requires a second. So, because a motion to second is usually just to make sure somebody agrees that they want it forward, the business, yeah.
I think a
But if
Robert's
you-
Rules order does say that you have to have a
If
second.
you're more comfortable with the second, we'll do it that way. All right.
What I remember of it, I think you had to have a second.
All right,
Doesn't stick in my head,
Yeah.
Robert's rules.
okay, so, old business, let's see, where's my agenda?
Did we not vote?
Did we vote on the
Yeah.
approval of the minutes? I thought we did.
We did,
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
right.
Julie and Sheila were first.
So at this rate, we'll be done the.
Towards the end of the year.
All right.
And we ayed. Oh.
It's gonna be of interest to
We ayed.
We've got several items,
Yes.
we've got several items of old business. And the first item is discussion of the library recreation culture tax proposal, the Johnson's study and so on. And
Dave,
Jeff,
would you mind if we talked about the class registration software?
so she can go?
Yeah,
Okay. I was going to suggest that as a matter of fact. Okay.
thank you.
Let's move to item B, the class registration system. Ronnie showed me a preview of that. It looks, I thought it was pretty good. Okay. Robin.
I don't know what you
Are
want me
you-
to talk about.
Oh,
So
who's gonna do it?
So,
Oh,
Are we
Ronnie.
showing?
I think we might.
Okay,
You want us to show it? You want us to pull it
Yeah,
up?
yeah.
Okay.
so we're gonna need a laptop
HDMI.
box.
Okay, so, or, I guess that'd be, I can set up the table, but I don't know if everyone can see, but, you know, just an
I
opportunity for
think
us
she went to
explain
get
it.
the
Yeah, the cable.
Yeah,
caster.
it just takes a minute.
It's gonna be behind.
So,
I did put it on the
Well, do you mind if
I put it
I
on the setup, but I didn't.
raise my issues and then they might be addressed in what you have to say? Does that make sense?
It's
Sure.
related, that's related,
If
right?
it's not
Right,
too
right.
long, yeah.
Okay, so I understand you have this CAN system, right? And it's difficult to manipulate within that with changes. So I asked a few people how it is to register, how they find that experience. And I have three scenarios. One woman was 70+ years old, not very computer savvy, and so she looks at the web magazine, chooses her class, and then comes to the front desk and asks them to register for her. I talked to another woman, 47 years old. She's a tech writer professionally and therefore extremely computer savvy. And she went through the system pretending she was me. And a couple things popped up of concern to her that I'll mention. And one was she registered for a class, but it didn't really come up as the name in the catalog because it was under big picture or something like that. And then she had to go in and find the one she wanted to click on. She also was a little unnerved that you had to get into the cart 3 times in order to secure the class you wanted to register for. Okay, so she was using her tablet and she had it in landscape mode and everything came up as it should, including the little message at the bottom that needed you to click on those things to put in your cart. However, if your tablet is in portrait mode, that little message does not show up at the bottom. And so you're totally frustrated, and how do I proceed to register for these things I've chosen? Turn your tablet around. She also wanted to go back and add some more classes, and that took her to not back to the Go, but to a page of all the different types of classes you can register within the city. And it's called, under that category, she decided to use the adult 55 plus, and that did take her then to the Go. I also asked at the front desk what it's like when the new Go catalog comes out. And I was told there is a line starting at 7:30 of people wanting to register, and they don't answer the phone until 10 because there are so many people who want to register by using the staff at the front desk rather than doing it themselves. So then when they answer the phone at 10, then they're doing all the people who are calling in to register. So if there was some way to make this easier for people to use, I think you would reduce the amount of time that the front desk has to spend registering.
Okay,
That's it.
Can I clarify about that phone call piece? I think she was exaggerating. We answer the phone when we can, but if there are a lot of people in front of us, then we can't always get to the phones right away. But we do check messages a lot and return calls, so.
Okay.
So let me just kind of set this up a little bit. So Ruth, we have heard those comments. A number of the staff met late November or early December and looked at the system, trying to identify ways to make things better, specifically for senior services. And I think what Robin will show us is some of those things that we've worked on to try to make that better, as well as Ronnie wants to show the video that Robin created on kind of a tutorial on how to use the system as well.
So Robin has it synced right now. So what she did is she went through and provided a video tutorial explaining the steps to register for a class, yet showing the mouse icon throughout the process. So she's showing you where to go, what to click on, what comes up in each redirection, and then she provides the short tutorial explaining the process, explaining what you're seeing, explaining where it's going to take you, and just, you know, she did a very good job. Taking a look at it for the first time, did you feel that was an easy process, something that you could watch?
Yeah,
and
it
walk
was.
you through to register for a class?
I have never registered for a class. I've always come to the front desk. And so, yeah, it seemed pretty straightforward to me.
And so and Robin, thank you for putting this together. It just simplifies the process when you have somebody explaining it to you. You don't have to make that phone call. You don't have to wait for a return phone call if there is one, right? And you don't have to come down and wait in that line that we were just discussing. Those are all available options. But again, this is a good solution to help identify the issue with registering online at home. So Robin, if you go ahead and when you click on it, it should maximize your.
Yeah, so just so you all know, this is our homepage. So if people go directly to our website from the catalog where it says the website, they go to the city website and they look at senior services. This is our homepage. So it's front and center if you're looking at Senior Center on the website. And we do have information here about how to view the catalog, and then we also have a link to our senior computer Tech Center or Senior Center Tech Connect website, so they can help people too. There are other older adults who volunteer for our senior computer programs. So that's how we link to them, because they can also help with any online struggles that people have. And then right here is the video on how to register online. So it's my understanding that you want me to play the video, is that correct?
Yeah, if you click on it, it should automatically maximize. And let me check volume on your remote.
Here's how to register online for Senior Center programs and activities. You can always find the link on our homepage at longmontcolorado.gov/senior-services.
It's frozen.
Now, if you've ever registered before in person or on the phone, you will already have an online account. So if you have an email on file with the Senior Center, you can click the links on the login screen for forgot username or forgot password and reset your information. If you're not getting those emails or you need further assistance, please don't hesitate to call us at 303.
So it's freezing up right now, so we can hear her, but we
8411.
can't see the slides that she's
You may see
walking us through.
activities.
So she's gonna exit out and try and log back in. That's just a internet issue. It's not a video issue that should create.
One thing I'd like to say is we've all been frustrated about registering online. Never occurred to me before the effect that has on the senior centre staff.
But it does.
It does.
So you've always registered by coming in, right?
No, I register online.
You do it online now?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Not very
Janine,
good.
how about you?
I've registered for 2 classes online and I didn't have any real struggles with it. I mean, to be honest, I was able to get into the class without an issue, but you know, I'm probably pretty used to computers and maybe more so than some people. So.
And that's, I will say that I've registered for plenty of classes online, and I've never had any issue.
For what classes?
For the
Plenty.
TRS. Yeah, plenty of classes.
Oh, plenty, okay.
Yeah.
I think, when we talked, we identified that there are kind of 3 groups of people in registration. There are folks who are already comfortable registering online, folks who are not comfortable, and if they got some assistance or some explanation, they might be able to get there and register online. And I think we're always going to have a group of people who are not comfortable registering online no matter what we offer them. So we're always going to have that option at the front desk, no matter what. But what Robin's trying to address here is how to help that middle group of people who, if they got some training, if they got some support,
Some instruction.
registering online might be easier.
Quick question, is there also written directions too, so that maybe they can have their little browser open so they can do it step by step?
I don't know. I honestly, we had that meeting and we had a few different solutions that we came up with.
Yeah.
But the only one I had time to work on between now and then was this video.
Yeah.
So I think there might have been discussion about more prompts on the site itself, the registration site, kind of helping you know what to do.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure if that was able to get done yet.
Gotcha.
Because
Okay.
we're short-staffed and
Yeah.
struggling
So-
to get all
Well, the
that.
video is great.
So if I were to use this, I would be on my computer trying to register and using this to figure out how to register. So I'd have to have 2 things open.
You
'Cause I
could,
can't
or you
flip
could
back
just
and
watch
forth.
this first, and then my hope is that you watch this first, and then you can do it. You don't have to
I
watch it
just simply won't
simultaneously.
remember all those steps if it's new.
Yeah, so
But
it's
you're the
there for you, but
secretary.
we can certainly try to type up some how-tos as well. And I have walked people through it over the phone too, so that's always an option. Someone just called me yesterday, and I was able to help her, and she was, once I got her to what she needed, she was like, oh, I can do this,
Yeah,
and she was
Once
fine.
you get it,
So,
Sometimes too, what I do is I print the instructions on my printer and put them right
Right.
next to me because, like you, I can remember 3
Yeah.
things. Beyond
well,
that,
good for you.
So you'll
That's
see
it.
in the video that the reason we don't have very elaborate written instructions is because it's very visual, and it kind of depends on, well, if you're looking at it like this, it might look like that. So it's kind of hard to like have complete instructions that are written that work for everybody, but we can certainly put something out there that can help with that. And also just to touch base on, I appreciate the concern for the burden on the front desk, but it's not really a burden to us that people are registering in person. That's just kind of how we work. The one thing that would concern me is if we push and a lot of people register online, and then at 8 o'clock when those people get here to register in person, things are getting full. because everyone's registering online. So there's a delicate balance there to keep in mind, so.
Once again, please, what's the problem with everybody registering online?
If some people, if more and more people register online, but some people will still always want to come in no matter what, even if they understand how to do it online, they will always want to come in. So I would hate for 8:15, I had someone who was here at 8 o'clock, finally got to me to register, and now the class is full because a bunch of people got on at 8 o'clock and registered for the class online.
That would be a real incentive for them to learn how to do it online.
Yeah, I'm just letting you know that could also happen.
No matter what,
So-
again, like I think that both of them said that there
I-
will
I-
always be a contingent that wants to register in person, no matter what you do. So
And I want to respect that too.
Yeah, and that's just
I've
something
got
we
a
all have to
question.
accept.
Like I said, I've never done this before. You have to go to two websites, go to the senior center and or the city, or is that all, you just go to the city website and then you just click from
Yeah,
there?
so you'll see, I'll show you in this video
Okay,
how to
all
get
right.
there from the city website. So it's a separate website from the city website, but you get there from the same
It's
place.
a link on the site?
Yeah.
Okay.
And when we send out our email newsletters, so we send out a newsletter, we try to get it out every other week, but sometimes we're behind. If we're promoting a class, we link to that specific class in the email. So if you see the class and say, I want to sign up for that, you just click the link and it takes you right to the registration for that class. So we're trying to make it easier for people. So does anyone have any other comments before I play this?
Senior Center programs and activities. You can always find the link on our homepage at longmontcolorado.gov/senior-services. Now, if you've ever registered before in person or on the phone, you already have an online.
The internet's not playing along today.
Try minimizing the screen, that might help. Let's see.
Nope.
Hit play, it might adjust though. If not, then I can try and run it off my computer.
Account. So if you have an email on file with the Senior Center,
So, it'll be a
you
bit
can
of a
click the
small-
link.
It'll be a bit of a smaller screen, but
You're casting.
We can attach an HDMI cord to your
Maybe I
computer.
can try slower quality. But yeah, try what you're doing as well, Ronnie.
I have it.
Because it's not blurring the people that have watched it, right? Because I didn't
No,
see
it was not blurry.
No. Okay.
Let me find where I'm plugging it. I think it's in the computer box.
I'm just gonna exit out of this, but if you wanna see, so this is our homepage, and if you click on register for a class, it takes you to that registration website, which is right here. And the link that you click on from our homepage takes you to a search. It's like a filtered search, so it shows you all of our programs already. And then we're gonna plug in Ronnie's computer.
You wanna sit here, Ronnie?
Oh, it's okay.
I'll trade you that place this weekend.
Sure.
The glories of
Thank you.
technology.
You're welcome.
Yes.
While we're waiting on this, a question I have is, this is in Spanish as well?
No.
No? it's
So
not
we
Spanish.
don't have a large population of our Spanish
Right.
community that actually register at all. So that's
Right.
another issue we're trying to tackle.
So the
So if they
community
start
needs to
registering and they want to register online, then of course we would provide those
Okay,
resources.
no problem.
Yeah.
Just curious.
It's one of the things our Spanish programmer will work on once we get them hired, is how to get folks to register for programs at all in Spanish.
Alright, ready?
Yep.
Try this again.
Register online for Senior Center programs and activities. You can always find the link on our homepage at
Take your seat.
longmontcolorado.gov/senior-services. Now, if you've ever registered before in person or on the phone, you will already have an online account. So if you have an email on file with the Senior Center, you can click the links on the login screen for forgot username or forgot password and reset your information. If you're not getting those emails or you need further assistance, please don't hesitate to call us at 303-651-8411. You may see activities unavailable online. That's usually due to the fact that they've already started or it's too close to the start time. So just call us if you have any issues with finding a class online. Now on our homepage, you can click the register for a class button, and it will take you to a page that looks like this with all of our activities. You may also get a page that looks like this with more categories you can click on. So either way, you can click on the category and it'll take you to the search screen. So you can search by activity code, so that number in front of the activity in the catalog. Just make sure you only search the first 6 digits for the decimal point. You can also refine your search by category or location, senior center, or things like that. So when you get the results of your search, you will see the titles of all the activities, but you will need to click on it to get more information. So it's important to note that if the class is part of a series, you might just see the title for the series and not the individual class title until you click on it and see more information. So it'll tell you the date, the time, the price for the activity, and if it's full or if it's a wait list. And you can add a wait list online. So once you find the activities you want, you can just keep going and find everything that you want. And just check the box under the add to cart list. And once you check that box, this bar down here is going to pop up. And as I've added more activities, they've added to this bar as well. So I'm not finished yet. I have to then click add to cart again. So it's a 2-step process to check the box and then click add to cart at the bottom.
And that's what doesn't
Some
show
screens
up
might not show this bar, so you might have to scroll or adjust your screen a little bit.
It doesn't.
Yeah, I just said that.
So once you're ready, you can click add to cart. And this is where you would be prompted to log in if you're not logged in already. And then it's going to list all the family members in your household that are eligible for this activity. So if you have more than one person in your account, it will list everyone's name here. So you just need to select who is doing the activity. And it's only going to show people who are 55 of age and better because we have age restrictions on our activities. So if you don't have your age in the system, then it won't let you sign up. So select what you want and click continue. And this is where it will take you to your shopping cart. You can see first it'll tell you if it's full, so we're on the wait list for a couple of activities. And it'll tell you if it conflicts with another program. And then you can see everything that you are signing up for. You can remove it or keep it in your cart. And then you can proceed to checkout, or you can continue shopping and add more items to your cart. So once you proceed to checkout, you will just need to enter your payment information and make sure your contact info is up to date. Select that you're not a robot and confirm the transaction. And that's all you need to do. You will be emailed a receipt, but if you need to check on your status, you can go to here with your account name and view your receipts again, view your household calendar, things like that. And that's all you need to register. Thank you.
Well done, Robin.
Thank you for doing that.
But it also points out how complicated it is.
Yeah, and so I just want to clarify, we already had a video. I just updated it because our website changed. So we've had this video for a long time. But yes, I understand that it's complicated, but there's really nothing we can do about the way it works. We can just help people understand it better.
Right.
So is this a modification to the existing system, or is this a brand new?
So the system has been the same. It's just like a year or two ago, the website changed the way it looked. So some of the pages look different or the colors look different. So I had an old video that was showing an old looking site. So I just updated it and tried to add in some of the other issues I was hearing. So nothing has really been updated functionally. It was just the design of the website.
Cosmetically.
Yeah. Well, what does everybody think?
I think it's great.
I think it's good.
I think she did.
I have to use it to tell.
Sure. Test it. Yeah.
Marcia.
Yes, I'm wondering, this assumes that you already have an account, from other parts of the city website, like permitting and stuff. I always get roadblocked because my account seems to expire all the time. So did you talk, is there a way to talk about what you actually have to do to get an account?
Yeah, I did actually say that in the very beginning when I was showing the Word document on the screen. So yeah, if you've already, it's not your utility billing account. It's if you have an account with the rec center, like you've done a rec center class or a museum, a class or something, then you're in the system. So I did try to explain that, and I said you already have an account. You might not know how to log in, so click forgot password or just call us. So.
Okay, so, but that isn't what creating an account means. So you sort of said, if you've already shared your email with us, how do you create an account?
You go to City of Longmont
You
website, and that's where I created my account, and I can get into the museum, I can get into the
Yes,
rec
it's-
department, anything.
It's all one account, but if you've never created an account, you have not really said how you do that.
So if, I mean, I can say it right now, and then maybe it needs to be its own separate thing, because
think
I
it
didn't
should-
wanna
It
put,
should be its own separate.
I didn't wanna put too much in that video, like
No,
if
you're right,
going
it
to that
should be a
video-
separate thing, creating an
How to
account.
create a City
And
of
it's
Longmont
really-
account, right?
It's rec, it's museum, it's
Everything.
senior
It's
center.
not
Shooting
everything, though, it's
range.
confusing, yeah, it's only for like
Yeah. It
classes.
doesn't, this software does not communicate with any other software within the city. So if you're in permitting, it's not gonna talk to recreation.
Right,
Yeah.
but if you're, if you've only had like Union Reservoir passes before, you could still use that same account for this?
Should be able to, yes.
Yeah.
And the museum.
And the museum, yeah.
Well, I don't have an account, never got an account. Can I
Well, you
use
do
this?
have an account because you've registered in person with us.
Okay,
So that's the issue. But when you're on the screen, if you're adding things to your cart and you're not signed in, it's gonna prompt you to create an account anyway, which is, I did say briefly in the video, but I didn't go into how, you're correct. So, I'm not logged in right now, so it's gonna ask me to sign in. And then there's that box that says, you may have already have an account if you have registered for programs or activities with recreation, senior services, firing range, or museum. Use forgot username link below to check your email address. And then down here it says, it's that forgot username, forgot password. Don't have an account, sign up now.
Oh,
So the system prompts you.
Yeah,
that's great.
okay.
and then you just put in your information.
We would
Well,
start from scratch.
to me, in an
We would
ideal
start from
world,
scratch.
and
If
Jeff
we
is
done it.
assured
I
me
see.
it can't happen with the CAN system we have, is that if you pull up the Go Online, you click on the class you want, and it goes into your cart.
Right.
And you pay for it. I mean, in an ideal, but the Go Online is sort of like a PDF, so there's not linking to anything to get it to click on, and I don't know if it can happen that way. But ideally, I think it should, but that's just me.
Well, I'm thinking that, does everybody think this is pretty good? I do.
Oh, this is excellent.
So
Yeah.
I'm thinking,
Good job.
you know, let's give it a shot. When can you implement this?
It's already been implemented.
Oh, it's already?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's live on.
Well, how about giving it a 3, 4, 5 month trial and then come back and
Feedback.
give us a report?
From whom?
But yeah,
Well,
It's already been.
well, from the people that administer it.
Oh,
there's always
This
been a
isn't
video.
new.
No,
Well,
it's
that's-
not, no.
The video is new,
Right.
the system is not new.
Yeah, I know the system's not new, but
The video's
this sort of
updated.
information is new, right?
So we will take comment as people are communicating with us, and midsummer, we'll report back on what the feedback is. I think the general thing that I've heard overall with the system is that once you get it figured out, it's pretty easy.
Yeah.
But it is difficult to get that initial thing done. And that's why we're looking at continuing to do more videos and what I will call the cheat sheets, so that I'm like some of you, where I like to have it setting in writing next to me so I can keep referring back. So those are things that we'll continue to do to try to make the experience better than it is right now.
Do we have more people using the computer or logging in?
For the senior center, we are primarily in person or by
I'm
phone.
sorry,
For the senior center, we are primarily in person registrations.
that's
We
majority.
have a statistic,
Okay.
but for the rec center, I believe it's more
We're
web.
about 60-40 now, I think.
How about here?
I don't know the exact percentage, but it's more here.
It's about 25% registering online. We took a look at some of the stats last year.
Which is increasing, because that number was much lower before.
Well, we would hope it would
Yeah.
increase, I think.
And so right now, this video is just on our web page. It's just like there, and it's been there for a long, long time.
Right.
So maybe what we can do is try to promote it more. Like we could put it in our email newsletter. Like, here's this video. If you're struggling to register online, and just kind of make people aware that the video exists.
Yeah.
Like that's one thing we could do.
Well, as,
We can put a
In
note
the
in the
Go.
summer go.
yeah, well, if we are going to be
That's okay.
surveying our client concerns, is this one that should be on our survey?
Yeah,
Or
could
does that raise people's expectations or?
If you
Are
just
they
ask them how they're registered.
Registration?
Yes.
Okay.
How old is
I
the
can't
site?
see it, but is there something about select language or something?
I was just asking, it says select language.
Oh, that's just from Google Chrome. It's a thing
Okay.
with Google. So Google will automatically translate any page.
Can you click on Spanish just so you can see?
Okay.
And Google just translates everything on the screen.
Yeah, that's not something we do. That's a Google function.
Cool.
Okay.
But that's a good
A great
option for
option.
Spanish
Yeah.
speakers.
I kind of misunderstood. I thought this was brand new. So,
No, 10 plus years.
oh, really?
But there are monthly updates that are sent to us that are automatically put in there. And then we also have the option, and we have a list of things that we've requested to be done by this system. And the way the company works is once enough communities have made the same type of request, that moves that request up in the level of priority.
And what's the name of the software?
It's called RecTrack, and it's owned by Vermont Systems.
Thank you.
I understand we have very few Hispanic that are doing these, but I'm sorry, but I'm naive on computers. But when they go to Google and it says try and put it in Spanish, it will all be done in Spanish and they can register like that or not?
I believe so. It would probably be something we'd want to have someone test because I don't think we've had experience with monolingual Spanish speakers registering online. So it would be something we would want to, I guess, look into.
Why don't you try that out, Artie?
I can try it. and see.
Yeah, why don't you try to
Huh.
register for a class?
And to reiterate, sort of problem A before that problem is just getting people to register for classes at all. Because right now, people share information about our classes in Spanish by word of mouth and a calling tree. And when we hire our bilingual 3/4 time coordinator this year, it's one of their first goals is to talk to customers about what do you need to register in advance for a class at all.
Good.
Okay.
Because I create registration numbers for every Spanish class, and 0 people register for every Spanish class. But for instance, yesterday we had 14 people attend the Spanish class. They just don't register. So
Yeah.
we've got to address that. Like,
Yeah.
kind
So
of
much easier
what's
to
the
come in and
core
get some
issue
help.
first? Yeah.
And a note on that, we have a Spanish page on our senior center website. I pulled it up right here. But the city in general tries not to have Spanish specific pages because Google has that translate option. So we don't need to create the extra work or a page that might have to be updated regularly, right? If Google will just translate it for us. But because the senior center has such a large Latino population that comes here, we at least tried to have a page that kind of touches on a few things that we do here.
And does this say, I haven't seen, use Google?
Yeah, so this is already in Spanish, we wrote it in Spanish, but if we went to like a regular page, and the internet is really slow on this TV right now, but that translate button ran away, but I think there's a way to find it.
But that page in Spanish that you just showed, does it say anywhere to get, to translate additional pages or information into Spanish, use Google?
I don't think it says that, so we can look into adding that. Mainly it says call Monica, because Monica will help you.
That's not a good
But,
idea.
yeah.
Is this new to most of the folks in here?
Yes.
It is? Oh,
They haven't heard.
For me, it is.
okay, well, it certainly is for me. Well, does everybody think that this is, good work?
Yep.
I mean, it's a
Excellent.
good system, what that is. Now, let me ask, what are you going to do different on this point forward as far as registration?
So what it sounds like what we're gonna do is look at creating, as mentioned, a handout option. So creating a link in here that provides the handout option so you can have a printable version while you're registering as well, because that's kind of what I'm hearing, right?
I like
So,
that too.
so printable version, create and then possibly doing another video on how to create a new account. So there's just, it's its own video, how to create an account. and then how to register for the classes right after that, right? You're saying we want to put it on maybe a 3-4 month trial just to see if to collect in-person real-time feedback from our customers on the registration process. Was it easier? Is it more accessible to them now because of these directions and because of the handouts, these additional options? And so from there we can bring that back in 3-4 months to kind of see.
Well, that sounds reasonable to me.
What it sounds to me are a lot of Band-Aids to try and keep this together and working well. But I think as an advisory board, we need to be communicating directly with the powers that be that we'd like to see this improved, so we don't have to Band-Aid.
So again,
Now, that'll take a long time, has to rise to the top of the rec track, but I think it's important to have our voice heard.
Absolutely, but as Jeff had mentioned, the system itself can
Right,
be changed.
that's right.
So,
Well, it can't unless we pressure.
but it's not just our facility.
No,
Will you explain that better, Jeff?
Yeah, so
Right.
the pressure, council can't do anything about this either, other than purchasing or funding a different system.
Right.
But with the system we have to work through Vermont.
Right, but unless our voice gets there,
Right.
as
Okay.
well as others, we don't
Okay,
know
but
others.
what I'm hearing is it's possible, of course you can buy a new system.
Right.
But the political will or the economics or the money simply isn't there right now.
No, not right now. Plus, we're not convinced there's a better system out there that is specific to recreation, registration, and reservation systems.
Mhm.
You know, when we went to bid to get this system, the other big name is Class. And Class wanted to collect all the money on behalf of the city, and then monthly they would send us the money, and we weren't really comfortable with that.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's why we went with RecTrack, and there at that time, those were really the two options that we had.
Okay.
And so with that, because we can't make overnight changes,
Right.
The only thing we could do is create better options, more awareness on resources on how to register. So right now we have a video walking through. We can have a visual, the handout. The video also provides auditory support, and additionally in person, right? So there's a lot of resources available to register using the system we currently have. And all it is just making these resources accessible for everybody, having everybody the opportunity to register using these.
Janine.
I have two thoughts. One, would there be a way, if there are times of the month where classes are being registered and there are long lines for the front desk, to potentially have somebody in the computer room ask people in the line, hey, do you want to see how to do this online? Because that would be one-to-one.
That's where volunteers could help.
Yeah, and have it be, because rather than wait in a line for a long time, I might be willing to go in and learn how to do it on the computer, or to make one of our tech classes how to register online, because we may have people come to the class. For a lot of people, they need face-to-face interaction with support, and those would be two ways I could think of to do that.
That's a really good idea.
Yeah, that's an excellent idea.
The other thing I would just suggest is, Ronnie, you might reach out to Ben over in Recreation, and maybe on those busy days, the phones could be transferred to Recreation, and that way the staff here is able to handle the lines, and Recreation could help people that are calling in,
That's a great idea.
at least to help with some of that pressure.
All right, this is taking way more discussion than I thought. I thought we'd be done in 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Can we release Robin?
If I,
Yes.
if I heard correctly, there are five
Thanks,
different
Robin.
options.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
There
Did a
are,
great job on that video.
there are five different, additional things that you're going to do. And let's have a motion. What I would suggest, let's have a motion as to how we want to proceed and a time frame on when we want to follow
Can I
up.
just add briefly, I won't be able to do anything until the end of February. So,
Before what?
the end of February.
Oh, that's,
So these
yeah.
things you're implementing, probably are gonna fall to me, and I just wanna be
Maybe by
upfront
the
and say
next
I
go.
can't
Not this one, but
work
the
on
next
it until after our registration, so.
Yeah, well, I'm thinking maybe 3 or 4 months, something like that. Yeah, not right away.
I'd like to make a motion.
Do we need a motion
Beth,
to?
well, I'd like to have a motion. Beth?
I'd like to move that we implement the suggestions that were brought up today by the next go,
By the next goal,
which would be the summer one,
for the summer one.
which
Okay.
would come out
In May.
in May. Thank you.
Okay, that's about right.
What's
We'll
the
have a fun-
deadline? What's the deadline for the next go for content?
I don't know.
March 20th or so.
Does that work?
Robin, what
Or is that too soon?
Well, content is not me, content you're just saying is put something in the go that says view this video,
Yeah,
Right.
I can do that today.
right?
Put it in the summer go template, that's easy, but the other changes we do need more time for.
So,
Okay.
yes.
So, anything to go in the go is March 20th, did you say, or the end of March?
Yes,
Okay, that gives you a couple of months. And is that sufficient time to,
Well, just in the go, you just want us to point out that we have a video, right? Is that what we're doing?
I guess?
Just for the go.
Yeah.
I think we're looking at the additional options of the.
So the other stuff wouldn't have to be done until May.
Yeah,
or
until
whatever registration
we
is.
have, you said May, right, by the time of the next go, so that would be May. So we'll have a follow-up discussion in May.
Okay,
All right.
thank you,
Thank
Robin.
Okay, thanks, Robin.
Okay, was there a second? Thank you so much, Rob.
Yeah, thank
That was, yeah, good work. Was there a second to the motion?
I'll second.
Sheila seconds. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, motion carries. All right, we'll discuss it again in May. All right. Okay, Jeff, do you want to move to item A?
Sure. So first off, did everybody get the documents that I forwarded after our last meeting? You didn't get them?
No.
I did.
You didn't get them?
There's a problem with the email list for the board.
Okay.
And I did get minutes and so on, but I didn't.
I didn't get the minute, I didn't get anything.
Okay.
But that's okay, you can get them.
So, did anybody, sorry. Did anybody have any questions on those documents? They were sent as references as it relates to the potential election that we might have in March.
We didn't get them.
I'm gonna be honest, okay? Cause I did get them and I actually read them. And they were like from 2018.
Right.
You know, and that's just my feeling was that I don't know how appropriate they are to today. And I mean, the basic concepts of the needs, I think, are the basic concepts. That's one thing, but I found that I wouldn't want to make decisions about, you know, what's going to be needed tax-wise in this community based on documents that are from 2018, and that's just my opinion.
And those were sent only as reference for past master plans or strategic plans. They weren't represented to try to explain why we need what we are proposing right now.
Yeah, I read through them too, pretty closely. I didn't read them item by item, line by line, or anything like that. But, you know, I kind of agree with Janine that, you know, it was interesting. The part that I thought most useful was the demographic information. And I still think that that's worthwhile. But other than that, it wasn't specifically related to us, so it was interesting, but limited.
Do we not have enough?
I've seen that pile going the other way.
Oh.
When I look at them and a lot of, I guess a concern was the hockey ice again.
It's not there. That
wasn't what we got.
well, Jeff, if you sent out the hockey thing, no wonder everybody's confused.
Well, but that was what everybody asked for. I was not telling you that had anything to do with that election. It was
Okay.
just,
You did say it was from 2018 as well.
yes,
Okay.
Yeah.
You did.
Yeah.
I remember that.
So
And so it's a little dated.
it is the ice rink part of what might be considered?
Oh.
No.
No, okay,
No.
that's what I wanna know.
No, like Jeff said, this is part of a different effort.
right. What we're looking at now is more a larger version of what is at the Longmont Recreation Center.
Yeah, I don't know, if anybody has any other comments, fine, I just assume move on to what you've got now.
So I apologize, but for sending that out, I thought we had
You
talked
did,
about.
we asked for it, it
Okay.
came up and we asked for it,
Right.
yes.
And the performing arts is the most up to date as well, and Marcia, you might jump in here. It's my understanding that another group is looking at that, but are there any questions specific to the performing arts? Because I think Marcia has the most information on.
Yeah, did you send out a link to the Johnson study?
Yeah, yes.
Okay, because that really is up to date, in terms of what the proposal is. There is, because we know that Longmont kind of doesn't consider itself a rich enough community to fund something like, a full-service performing arts center. There is a consortium of private donors that is proposing to essentially raise half the money, $35 million, to grant that to the city if the city will match it with a little more than match it with a $45 million bond issue, but that really cuts the tax increase down a lot. And the tax wouldn't come in until and if those private donors actually have the whole committed amount. So what the bond issue is going to be for, or what the ballot measure is going to be for, is given that this private association donates $35 million to the city for the purpose, would you support a bond issue with a tax when that happens up to 5 years out? That's the question.
Okay, so I just want to be clear, make sure everybody else is clear. That's worthwhile, but that's only indirectly related to our goals and our purposes.
What?
Right, but it's all tied to the potential tax initiative. So
Right.
there are all those.
Right.
There are things with the library. There are also things with the museum and with parks that could be included.
Yeah, but the arts proposal, that's independent, right?
No,
No.
it's probably all gonna be
All
on
the
one,
same, okay,
and the council has to refer
Okay,
it, so
all right.
this is a discussion of what's being
Okay.
proposed.
Okay.
So after the election is when this group would try to raise the money to match?
Oh, the group is gonna raise money anyway, because they get to try two more times, even if this try fails. So there is a group, actually, mostly seniors. There is a group that wants this, mostly for educational purposes, but generally to enrich the cultural life of Longmont, that is raising the money now.
Are they raising money or are they making pledges?
They are raising money with an escape clause that if this completely fails after the trigger interval, they will disperse the funds back to the donors.
So they're actually getting funds.
They're getting funds, yeah.
Can I ask, are all of these, this is gonna be a vote on a tax, so are all of these combined as one thing? Because perhaps the cultural center is pushing it a little bit, but I think that the library really needs a lot of work and funding, as do some of the rec center programs. So are we making comment on the potential taxation that's gonna connect all of these as one thing and then decide later what goes to a cultural center, what goes to the rec center, what goes to, the library?
Okay, both and neither. So, what is,
That's a big no.
the council has the power of referring all or none of these things to the ballot. That doesn't happen until May or later, okay? So what's happening now is that the computations for how much tax increases would be associated with each project have been done, and you can look at them online from the city portal. So the council portal. And those computations are approximate. For example, the consortium of donors looked at that and said, you know what? Let's put less of this burden on the people, but let's raise more. So I think that the city was gonna, has it in the draft as 50 million. It's going down to 45 million because the consortium said, we can do 5 million more. But anyway, how it's grouped on the ballot is to be determined. But so what you can look at is roughly how much tax is associated with each of many options for things the city
Dollar
needs.
wise or percentage wise?
Both. So you can say, there's going to be a this % sales tax, and there's going to be a this much mill levy associated with each project. The city is preparing now, and it should go to the professionals to get structured right, a push survey, a scientific, we randomize our population and contact people at random to survey what people prefer. So that kind of a survey is going to happen as well. So yeah, both and neither, right? Is that clear? I know it's kind of complicated, but that's where it is.
So on the ballot, it won't be one question. It could be multiple. You might have the opportunity to vote yes on a rec center, yes on a library, yes on a museum expansion, yes on performing arts, and yes on parks.
You might.
Yes or no.
You might, but it's not likely that the council will structure it that way because that gives it the least likelihood of passing.
Right.
So we don't know that.
Well, the reason I ask this is tax is tax, and it's a burden to a lot of people. And the other thing is, we have a museum and we have an auditorium there that's a pretty damn good one. I don't know if you go to those events there, but I do.
It's full.
I've
I
never
do,
seen it overcrowded.
It's always full.
And I wonder about, can we expand things, or do we have to give up a rec center or a library to build a whole new cultural center?
Well,
So those are things that taxpayers are going to want to know about. I will.
well, so if it's on the ballot and the ballot wins, the city is committed to doing it. So there's no, if both the cultural center and the library extension and the rec center were all on the ballot, then in fact, the city would be committed to building all of them. So you're not, giving up. On the other hand, if the city, if the council refers them as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 separate ballot questions, then yes, you end up with a lower tax. But unless people voted for all of them, the city wouldn't be committed to any of them. Only the ones that won. So in that case,
Who prioritizes what gets built first? Sorry, Marcia.
It's an important question.
Honestly, that's a matter of operations in the city. Staff, the city manager's staff does that. So I can't tell you that. The only thing I can tell you in terms of prioritization is that the donor consortium is not asking the people to take the Performing Arts Center specifically on faith, but they're saying that it's going to be a public-private partnership. There's no tax until the money is raised, and then it would be a private developer doing the work. Okay, and Janine, in general, it's the same way with any funded major project. Okay, so there is essentially an existing design for the rec center. It's just going to be an expansion. So what will happen is, the city engineering staff isn't going to build this.
Right.
The city will do a bond issue and procure a contractor that will just go out and build it with their own resources. So it's perfectly possible that all the different approved projects could be going on simultaneously because they'd all have a different workforce.
All right,
I
Jeff.
just
Oh,
have one other
Julie?
thing I want to add. I think the one difference with the Performing Arts Center is that the Performing Arts Center actually brings in commerce to our community, which a lot of people in the community don't see that, right? So it would be bringing in.
Thank you for coming.
Different performers from all aspects, which would then, the idea is that you pull from Boulder, you pull from, from Frederick, you pull from all these other different communities, bring these people in. And then also along with that, if our cultural center is successful, it could promote people moving to Longmont for the fact that we have such an amazing community and services provided by our city. So.
Certainly. Jeff.
I don't have a whole lot. I wanted to share the tentative timeline that has been developed with, as Marcia had mentioned, polling will start happening just as soon as the survey questions are finalized, and we'll know polling results hopefully sometime in March. And I guess I would just ask that the board keep this on the agenda for every month, and Ronnie and I and Brandy can come to you along with Marcia's help and keep you up to speed with what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Well, okay, I've got a couple of questions.
Okay.
The city marketing staff puts the survey together, is that right?
They draft it, and then the company that the city hires will put their 2 cents into it, because that's professionally what they do, and word questions so that they're not leaning, and
Okay.
and that's really the expertise that they help bring.
In what areas are they gonna have questions?
I can answer that. I've
Okay.
reviewed the draft.
Okay.
So there's first set of questions about 12 existing city amenities that ask you whether you use it or not. And if you pick yes, you get to say why you use it. And if you pick no, you get to say why you don't use it. Then there are descriptions of the new projects as opposed to, upgrade projects. And they ask people to prioritize them. And I think that those are, you know, so it would be like a ranked choice vote. Is everybody familiar with ranked choice voting at this point? So there's a section like that, or that's what Sandy Cedar proposed. You know, the polling company may choose to do something entirely different. I'm not sure how that part works, but they're professionals, and so we'll probably defer to them. And then there is another section about groupings, you know, so if it was all the new projects together, would you vote for it? Or if it was all the parks and recreation, would you vote for that? And then all the cultural things together, which would group library, museum, and performing arts, would you vote for that package? So that's the general way that the draft poll is structured. Again, I make no guarantees about what the pros will end up with, but that's the kind of information that we're looking for.
And the link to the poll will be in the newsletter?
No.
How do people get it?
People will be contacted at random by the polling company, like a major political poll. So you don't get to, you know, get all your friends that are in favor of one certain thing together and get them all to vote. It's going to be a randomized poll. You know, that's the way. And the other thing is this. The city council is not bound by the results of the poll.
Well, I'm looking at this from the point of view of what does the senior center get out of all of this? Right. And, you know, we had a lot of discussion, but there's no direct answers to that. Julie, I think it was you last time that said we start looking at the rec center, and Jeff, you said that there would be space available at the rec center. I don't know what that implies, staff, programs, you know, whatever. Yeah. Maybe that's to be determined yet. So what I'm getting at, as far as this survey is concerned, there was something that was done in 2016 that's probably, it was pretty good. It's called Envision Longmont Aging Well. And specifically, are there going to be questions related to, you know, housing options, access to information, supportive services, transportation services, recreation, employment, those health and employment, health, caregiver support and education, all of those kinds of things are not new.
I would say no, those questions would not be asked. It's more about the proposed projects that have been outlined in the presentation, and nothing beyond that.
Brandy.
Those questions were part of the community conversations that a lot of the board participated in last year that the Area Agency on Aging did to update the Age Well plan for the county, which will include specific information about Longmont. So those questions have been asked in a community-wide forum, and we'll get feedback probably this summer on the results of that.
So something similar to that was done in 2016?
Yes.
I would like to add some of my feedback on the poll was that there wasn't enough specific information for people to make their decisions. So in discussions, for example, about both the rec center and the upgrade to Centennial Pool, we've said, you know, we really miss that warm soaking pool that they used to have at the hospital. Could that be part of one of these projects? And the answer is yes, but it doesn't say anything about that in this polling. So to me, that is an omission in the poll, and there needs to be at least a little bit more than there is about the nature of the project.
Can that be added at this point?
That's why we gave feedback, right? That's why right now the only feedback has been from the council members.
Was that feedback given from the council?
Yes, this council member.
Yeah. I
hope that it will be a better poll because we've had an early chance of review. And I hope that the other council members that are liaisons to other boards will have the same kind of, feedback, like, well, this is a big decision point, it should be in the poll. So, we're working on it. It's in very, wouldn't you say, very preliminary stages at this point, Jeff?
Yep.
But your new rec center, are we looking at something similar to what we have now on the
Yes.
south end of town?
Yes.
Okay.
And that,
And we're still talking about either the east side, are we, is the east side being considered at all, or is it?
that actually, Art, was one of my other pieces of feedback. Right now, the poll says it's gonna be at Dry Creek Park, which is on the west side. And I said, we know that we're having concerns about youth engagement on the east side, the northeast, is really a desert compared to the rest of the city in terms of public amenities, and that's not right. That's, in my mind, that's a form of redlining.
Right.
Yes.
I, for example, we just also found out, Susie and Chiquita's proposal about a sports dome to be sited up there north of Centennial. The windfall money can't even be used for that. It has to be directly spent on activities with no capital investment whatsoever. So I said, if we're going to have amenities, we should put a project that puts something useful in that location on the north side. And so I don't know whether that will do any good, but the answer right now, Art, is no, and I think it's wrong.
The northeast part of Longmont, of which I live in, is served by the YMCA, and there's scholarships, and they're easy to get.
Oh, that might be a use for the windfall money, because if it goes straight for youth programs, the city could fund youth programs for the YMCA as with that windfall money. Thank you, Beth.
Well, and my point of bringing that up
for recreation.
is that I go there, a lot of my neighbors go there. A lot of people in northeast Longmont go there because it has what they need.
Yeah. Okay. I think we're gonna have to move along.
Yeah.
I told you before, I wasn't very good about ending meetings on time. Try to do better. Jeff, I think you're right. I think this should be a continuing item. And if everybody's okay with that, we'll put it on next month's agenda also. We'll just continue the conversation. Maybe we'll have more information on specifics at that time. I do have questions on the, well, let me throw this out. On the survey itself, on second thought, I'm gonna let that go. It gets too complicated.
And we can talk offline from the meeting too.
Okay, I'll give you a buzz.
Okay.
All right. The foot care RFP. Okay.
I'd like to make a motion.
All right.
We need to drop this from the agenda because it's not going and hasn't in 2 years going to happen at the senior center for a whole big bunch of reasons, mostly being liability and duplication of services that are offered at the hospitals. So we never go anywhere with it. I'd like to see it removed from the agenda.
Yes, Jeff. You second?
No, I'm not seconding it.
Okay.
But before anybody seconds that, or if you want to second it and then we have conversation, Ronnie has some pretty interesting information about this topic.
So
Ronnie?
I have a lead.
All right.
So I have a meeting in place to see if these are services that could be provided here, and looking at all those details. So that's That conversation is yet to happen. It's scheduled in the next week or so. I can tell you when I have to look at my schedule. But it's with Colorado Visiting Nurses Association. So, like I said, it's a lead. It's a conversation I want to follow up on and see where that goes. See if it's something we could bring back, and then if not, then.
Is liability an issue? Marcia, I think you brought that up last time, if I remember correctly. The liability involved, you know, if you have a diabetic, for example, something goes wrong. You know, and you said something about the city being, looking at me funny. You didn't say that?
I may very well have, it's something I might have thought of, but yeah, it was, does the city's,
I'm thinking about you're
overall.
self-insured, right? Your
yeah, the
insurance
city
program
is self-insured.
So I'm wondering if that somehow could be part of it. Is that-
So I think one of the real advantages of the association that Ronnie's contacted is that a number of the other senior centers in our area are using them as a service. I don't think that the goal is to really provide full care. It's to identify potential issues, and then individuals would be referred to doctors. But I think it's a great first step. Am I misspeaking there?
No. So would that require an RFP?
Nope.
Or just a intergovernmental agreement, something?
I don't think they're a governmental agency.
We feel like, because we've had, so Ronnie and I met with our purchasing department and talked about whether it needed to be an RFP. Based on where we landed, we feel like this could be addressed through a personal services agreement with them and wouldn't need to go to a full-out RFP. But if this doesn't work out, we have some guidance from purchasing that could take us to that RFP if we needed to.
Well, I kind of agree with Janine that we need to either do something with this or just get it off the agenda, forget about it.
So how about if we get it off the agenda, and when we have good news, we'll report back on it.
Yes, sounds
And
great.
for me, because I know what used to be here.
Right.
Yeah.
If you're dealing with visiting nurses, it is educational and evaluation, not treatment. Because nurses don't do diabetic foot care. So just to kind of put that in, to be very clear about what are they doing, what are they proposing to do? Because they can do education, they can evaluate and make recommendations, but the treatment itself would not happen here.
All right.
I
Really.
thought that was the whole point of it.
Yeah, I don't, what purchasing explained to us was that when Michelle was here, she had tried a number of different times to get someone to provide a proposal, to the point where we were having direct conversations with providers and still didn't get any proposals. So it doesn't appear like that service is going to be available. So the next best thing is what Ronnie has found with the
Right.
Nursing Association.
So as long as people are clear that it's education
Yeah.
and recommendation and not the
Service.
actual treatment.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
So they would have to
okay.
go somewhere else.
Correct.
Do you want to
And they'll
withdraw?
have those resources available, I would assume. if
Well,
that-
the hospital does.
You wanna
No, I mean,
revise
when
your
they get the
motion?
program.
You want to revise your motion or withdraw your motion, or?
Well,
Just take it off.
Should we just?
Well, I second it and just go for a report.
well,
What
care
happens.
is not what's gonna really happen. Evaluation is gonna happen.
Well, I believe there is the simple foot care of helping people who cannot take care of their own feet get their nails trimmed, and there is
If you're not
some
diabetic,
care involved.
right? You know, 'cause you can be old and can't reach your feet
I
and
know.
still not be in danger
All
of
right,
footworms.
That would be me.
I'll withdraw.
They need to go to the doctor for that.
I will withdraw.
Oh, you're
All
gonna
right.
withdraw?
You've
Okay.
withdrawn the motion. In that case, you withdraw your second. Okay, is it all right then if we,
Move it.
you bring that back next month? Would that
Yeah.
be enough time?
Yep.
And we'll discuss it further. We'll continue on the agenda, but with the objective either we get something settled or withdraw it from the agenda. All right, any more comment on that?
No.
Okay. Senior Center customer survey questions.
Yes.
That would be.
Oh.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
All right, this was a continuation of 2 meetings ago, I guess, when it was first brought up. And Jean offered to develop some questions that possibly could be used by the advisory board to interview people, or as a basis of interviews, to get additional feedback as far as the center's operation. Janine, you want to elaborate on this, or
Well,
Ronnie?
Ronnie actually and I met,
Yep.
and so Ronnie, did you want to do that presentation?
Sure, doesn't matter, yeah,
Thanks.
absolutely. So, you know, the whole purpose of the last conversation was to identify, or provide a survey, focusing on our customer service specifically. So Janine and I met and, generated 10 questions. I know the goal was to come up with three of them. I'll have the board agree on 3 to focus on. They said that, you know, collectively it was noted that anything beyond 3 was too much and loses the attention of anybody filling out the survey. So we were focusing on, collectively, we all decided to focus on qualitative, not quantitative. So again, we came up with 10 questions for the board to take a look at and see which 3 we would like to move forward with. Again, focusing on customer service specifically here in our facility, and then identifying what next steps, how do we want to roll it out, and begin those conversations. So I don't know if you want to just take a moment for everybody to read through the 10 and go from there. Yeah. All right. Yeah, all right. Did you get it?
Oh,
I'm sorry.
I don't have a vote, so I gave mine.
Oh, okay.
Janine,
I might want to add that, in putting these together, this, the 3 would be, the first 3. And that we discussed that we wanted these surveys to be ongoing. So it's more like prioritizing what 3 you might start with, knowing that down the road, we might use other ones, other questions in here.
So you said the first 3 are the ones that
No,
you
no, no.
felt?
We
No,
you
no.
choose whatever
Okay.
3
Okay.
you would prioritize.
we talked about, rotating or having some number of board members doing this each month. That was one idea talked about. Have you given any more thought to that? Anybody?
No, and I think our conversation last time was to identify the questions and bring it back, and then determining how we want to roll it out. Is it an in-person survey? Is it a questionnaire we're providing at the end of each class session? Things like that. So there was no clear direction on next steps. My understanding was we were going to discuss those at this meeting. Also, we decided, or not decided, we discussed that, if this is successful, we are getting plenty of feedback, enough responses, then from this one, moving on to different components, right? So this one's customer service. Next one could be, I can't remember what we discussed, programming focused, what we are offering at our facility. I don't know, I can't remember, but it was just focusing on different aspects, not staying in that customer service realm. So.
Okay.
My question is, why, is there a reason why we have not, I don't know how to put it, that the information on ethnicity, is that something that would be beneficial or not, or not necessary here? And I'll be honest with you, I just, you know, I don't come here often, but I don't see a whole lot of Hispanic population here. I think probably the ones I do see many times are the ones that here see to see Veronica or some of those folks. And I was just wondering, is that something that's needed or does it matter? Or
The demographic thing, I think that provides important information,
right.
but it doesn't fall into the guidelines that you all
Right.
talked about last month of, because if you do demographics, you're gonna have 3 questions just in that, and you only wanted 3 total.
I will share that our database that tracks case management information is probably going to start requiring ethnicity as an information that we put in, with the option of we don't know, if people have not disclosed that. But I don't think that RecTrack requires that for people to register for classes or anything.
All right. Okay, I just.
It's a
I
good
wanted to
question,
throw that
and
out.
I wish it did.
I can tell you anecdotally, our Spanish-speaking customers come to see Veronica and Melissa quite a bit, to programs and drop-in groups that are in
So they
Spanish and playing pool at lunch.
Right, playing pool.
Those are the big captures.
Okay.
So, I'm gonna throw this out there, and I don't know how politically correct this is or anything, but I just think that what I find interesting is that it is predominantly white people that come to senior centers, and I'm wondering if culturally, with the Hispanic community, the Japanese community, all these other communities, is it culturally something that they utilize or take part in? I mean, like, I know with the Hispanic community, they're very family oriented.
They have their
Right.
own community.
They have their own community that they connect with, where honestly, white people, you know, or the Caucasians, there are a lot of people who do not even connect with their family. And so that's where I feel like the senior center comes into play, is that it gives them a community that they may not have, because we have people who have moved here from, you know, all other areas of the country, and maybe their family isn't here. So I'm wondering how much that plays into the fact that we don't have a lot of diversity here at the senior center.
Probably a lot.
You know, I don't know. I mean, but I think it could be something that we should look at and consider, you know, and then, yeah.
What do you think about that, Art?
Well, I mean, I just would like to see a lot more, you know, start attending some of our things. And you know, maybe one of the things that we look at is like for the Cinco de Mayo and for the Dia de los Muertos, is maybe we have a booth there or something so that we can try to encourage, because that's where you're gonna see, just like you said, a lot more of the Hispanic community, and that we can give them paperwork or resources or whatever on the senior center. I just, you know, the reason I say that is because we have a great record center. I mean, senior center here. There's so much to offer. And for some reason, I don't know that they're being reached or why they're not coming in. You know, Manuela, she works at school district and she's a parent contact or something. So I'm hoping that she gets on that board and she might be able to encourage, you know, more people to get involved here. I don't want to see these people sitting at home and on their couch and doing absolutely nothing.
Right.
And I just had a friend of mine from Brighton, 68 years old, and we used to get together for breakfast, a few of us from Brighton, and he was at the last breakfast, the next thing he has a heart attack and dies, but I don't know if he was involved in anything, and obviously we're all concerned about exercise, health.
Yeah.
Et cetera.
You had mentioned Cinco de Mayo, and we do always have a booth that staff and volunteers man at Cinco de Mayo.
Yeah.
And part of our 3/4 time bilingual recreation programmer position that we're gonna hire is doing outreach. That is
Good.
part of
Glad to
what
hear
we
it.
have worked into that job description.
Great. That's good.
Growing
Good
the
news.
Spanish programming that we have, speaking to the Spanish-speaking community specifically,
Marcia.
growing those programs.
I just wanted to ask, is it possible that the location is part of the problem? You know, this is a white neighborhood. How many of the people were from close around here? If there were, you know, a shuttle from someplace central on the northeast side, or from down around Countryside and Southmore, for specific events, would that get people involved? How much of a problem is it that, you know, one partner is working still and the other partner is sitting at home because it's a one-car family? I'm just wondering.
I think it's pretty
Julie?
accessible from Northeast.
Is it?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know.
I'm from Northeast, and I think this location is
But-
very accessible.
But you're driving here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's
Or
I
riding
think
my
that's a-
bike.
So, my question, I guess it would be to Ronnie and Jeff, is, how many, in the activities that we have here, how many of those activities are conducted, by an instructor that is Hispanic? Do we,
All of the Spanish programs. Yeah.
okay, yeah, okay. I just didn't know if that was a barrier as well.
And that's why we have programs that are just in Spanish, because
Okay.
yes, we have bilingual folks who can attend programs in English. We have
Yeah.
ample offerings in English,
Yeah.
but the Spanish options are limited.
Okay.
This is all important, but I would like to defer further discussion on this particular survey. We got a couple of other things. I wanted to say some things about the annual report that's relevant to all of this that we're talking about. But first, I'd like to talk about the board members. We're short 2 board members, and we have a potential one that you brought in today. I'm not quite sure what the process is. Do we just, what's the process? Get new members on?
So you will need to wait until the mid-year application process.
Okay.
I believe the applications are taken April, May, with appointments to take place in June. But the council does not appoint new members outside of June and the end of
That's what
the
happened to me. I was appointed mid-year.
Yeah.
So the applications will be available April and May?
I will verify that and I'll email everybody with that date.
Okay.
Did you say you had another person that might be interested?
Yes, Yolanda Solis would be, she's actually on the El Comité, and
We're checking
We'll
it,
see if
Art's checking it.
Oh,
to see if it's going to, if that is considered a city employee or not.
Yeah, well, she's definitely not a city employee, but I don't know whether there's, you know, city-funded independent agencies may or may not be able to serve on this board, but we can find out today. You know, Art and I discussed it kind of over the weekend,
Yeah,
so, I don't know. We should, while we're having this discussion, Art and I did meet with, Carmen Ramirez about how to do, outreach into the Hispanic community specifically, and we did talk, and also we talked about lower income communities, because I mean, face it, guys, we're not exactly represented there either, and so we have some ideas to work about making the application more simple. We just learned something today about Spanish. Maybe we don't need a whole Spanish. We just need to be sure that it's available on the website in the way that the translator works on it. So, you know, there's a whole bunch of things that we've kind of got going. We have that April deadline to implement some of them, but we have started the process of recruiting a more diverse board for the new seats than we have now. In addition to Art's direct recruiting efforts.
So,
And I think that Carmen brought up the idea of inviting them to a meeting and then maybe doing a one-on-one with them and I will get back with Carmen, with Manuela on that. She sounds like she's interested, so. And I hope Yolanda is able to serve also, 'cause that'd be great.
Will you bring that back then at our next meeting?
What's that?
Will you bring it back next meeting?
Yes.
26.
Okay.
26, so that would mean how many board members, 12?
9.
That's how many we have?
Yep.
Yeah.
9.
So
We have 7 at the moment.
24% would
We have
be
2 vacancies.
Three,
3.
yeah.
3?
If it was proportional, we're not on a quota system
Right.
or anything,
Well-
but if it were proportional, there would be 3.
Okay.
All right. Anybody who has any ideas for members, let us know.
I'll work on one. But she's not Hispanic, she's bilingual. She was born in Chile.
How about old white guys?
Honestly, men is
Men
kind
in
of,
general.
men in general
Yeah.
is an underrepresented group.
Well, I look around and I see Art.
I said, you only see one.
I'd like to drop down to the annual report, and I've got a point of view that I want to throw out on the table. And if I'm all wet, that's fine. You can tell me that I'm all wet. I'll be hurt deeply, but that doesn't matter too much. I mentioned before in my campaign speech that we really need to make more specific proposals, recommendations to the county council if we're going to have any impact. We have impact, but I think we could have more impact if we made recommendations based on some good data, good logic, that sort of thing. And so then the question is, how do you do it? And I've thought about that quite a bit. I know it's very easy to ignore advisory boards. And so, a couple of things. On the one hand, demographics we've been talking about is pretty much of an all-white board and pretty much of an all-white clientele. It really is. And that's nobody's fault. That's just basically how it's evolved, and it's the way I see it. And I want to be clear that I think the staff is a wonderful staff, and they do just a wonderful job. And I think Brandon did just a great job this last year. And you're going to do a great job too. But when you wonder about the services, and we have 100,000 people, and of those that are 55 and older, it's almost 30% of our population. And if you take 30% of our population and you take it times 8%, the poverty rate in this town, that's 2,500 people right off the top. And you can make the same kind of argument with Hispanics, with the disabled, veterans, you name it. I think a lot of groups are really underrepresented. And so, is that something that we really want to work on, to increase diversity, to have all groups of our community represented? Because I do think we have something of a problem right now. And so that's one issue. And that's kind of a policy decision, in my opinion, unless legally there's some issues. So I'm looking at how the decision process works in the city. I know how big government works because I've worked for one for 25 years, but they're not all the same. But you have your budgetary process. Ronnie, you'll be submitting your budget about May to Christina, something like that. Is that about right?
Yep.
And then Christina will look that over, and then you'll have some sort of internal deadline. That'll have to go to the city manager and the assistant city manager, I presume. And from there it goes to finance, and from finance it goes to the budget division within the finance. So all that stuff is going to be going on in summer. And then along with this, I looked up a little bit on this priority budgeting system with the city uses. I don't understand it very well, and I didn't spend a lot of time on it. But I do know you have a fairly new system that uses priorities to try to allocate budget. And I looked at some of the organizations within the city, and guess who has the top scores? You know, I assume it's probably about a 5-point scale, I'm not sure. But safety, you know, public safety, the police and fire. Police and fire, I think, did well. I think they had a rating of 3 on this priority system. And I looked around for senior services. You know what senior services got for the priority? 0. And so I don't think 0 really means 0. Of course they get resources. But in terms of the hierarchy of things, you know, they don't get a whole lot of attention. So I'm looking, you know, how can we have impact? Going back to the idea that we have, Brownie, you told me this before, the total number of people that you have and you serve in a year is, what is it, a couple thousand, 3,000?
On just the supportive services side,
Yeah.
I don't have the numbers yet for 2022 because our reports aren't working, but I believe it was like 1,100 new clients and 700 continuing clients.
Yeah. You know, I know you do a good job. You know, the services are good. It's just that it's not anywhere near meeting this the need as far as I can see. And you're shaking your head as if you agree.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's all kinds of things more that we can do, or the city could do. It's always a question of money. That's why I came back to, you know, looking into the money aspect of it. So, you know, how do you have impact? Going back to the budget process, you guys will be submitting your budget to Christina, and the budget folks will start working on it. And then I suppose there's going to be a lot of interim discussions between the finance people, department heads, and the city council. And they'll eventually come to a decision. They'll use this priority-based system, I suppose, to some extent. And that's how the budget's formed. Yeah.
I could add to something to that. First of all, you're a little late in terms of the times to communicate budgetary needs to the staff. For this year, well, or for any year, it's not the middle of the summer that they say they're in the budget process. But for a department or a division to get its budgetary requests in, it's more like April, because everybody starts adding up and doing it and applying the process really early, and by the time these discussions come before the city and the council over the summer, it's all really baked. You know, the staff who has most of the power has done their work. Now, I will say that pandemic time, I don't remember which year this was, but the last time that priority-based budgeting was explained to the council, we said, wait a minute, equity is not one of the steps in your prioritization ladder, and we want it in there. So the prioritization algorithm that is priority-based budgeting has supposed to have changed to include a bigger weight for social equity, and well, bigger than 0, depends on whether you're adding or multiplying, but anyway, that change is supposed to have been there, which would mean that if we do a better job at equity as a department and as a board, it should help us in the priorities. And I think, you know, that for example is a resolution that this board could make, is that we want to say that the senior center is committed to enhancing social equity for our marginalized service population, and we ask that the council can enable us budgetarily to prioritize that. That would be a resolution that could come forward to council. Just saying, that would have to have an awful lot of effect in that. I would, if anything is going to have an effect on the budget process, that would do it.
A resolution?
A resolution by this board that
Oh, I
we
see.
bring forward to the council, and just ask the council to adopt it. I pretty much guarantee you that the council we have now would adopt it.
But you're not saying it's too late to make that resolution for this budgetary cycle?
No, it's the 1st of February, right?
Right.
And the work is being done now.
Right.
Or really what's happening, the requests are going in now for the next 2 or 3 months.
Right.
And then, it gets sifted and prioritized over the summer, but yeah, getting something like that in the next couple of months could have an effect, yeah.
Okay. That's good to hear. So here's my plan. I do have a plan.
You've got it all mapped out, don't you?
Well, I've thought of an approach, along with what you're thinking, I think. And that is, we have our annual report. Now, Brand, I think you told me there's no specific deadline on that? Okay. So we could kind of coordinate that with this whole budgetary process. So I'm thinking that we build on the draft that you put out as far as the accomplishments and the activities of the board. And I missed a couple of those meetings, so I don't even know what they talked about, basically. But we could enlarge, put a little more meat on the activities that we did. And on the basis of that, we could make some recommendations suggesting a resolution that goes first to Christina. She's going to be, correct me if I'm wrong, she's going to be making allocations of resources within the department, right?
No, that is not right.
Okay.
She will make recommendations. Council makes all the decisions on what is approved or not approved.
But they give great deference to what the department does.
Well, and in addition, the budget, the real budget, has thousands and thousands and thousands of line items.
Yeah.
What the council sees is a really rolled up version of that. And so maybe one council member who has an agenda for one particular department will make a fuss and dig down into that. But most of us never see the detail because it would be physically impossible for a human being to do in the amount of time that we have. So, yeah, you can say council approves it, but council's going to be approving a top line number with maybe two salary positions funded or something for the senior center. That's all the details we're going to see, unless there's a capital expansion or something like that. So, yeah, in terms of program level funding, we don't see it.
That's exactly what I figured was going on. So Christina really does, even though she's not the final decision maker, the city council is, but she's instrumental. You folks are division managers or section managers. You make the preliminary decisions, and it goes up the line, and then it's modified through the whole process that we're talking about.
Let me
Okay.
explain how it's worked for me over the years.
Okay.
So generally, by the end of May, we have to have all of our requests into the system by the end of May. We then, the finance people blend all that together, do all their magic, and then sometime by the end of June, there is a budget meeting with staff and city manager and the finance folks. And that's our time to advocate for what we're requesting. we get about 2 hours, and Harold and everybody are in these meetings for solid days as they hear the advantages and disadvantages of trying to do something. Once that happens, generally the work goes and finance and Harold and the assistant city managers do their thing. But once it gets past that budget meeting, the department directors, which would be Christina for senior services, really have no more say after that, unless somebody has a question that they would ask and then go back. They would go back. Then the city manager, by the end of August at the latest, has to present the budget to city council. Generally, all of September are then used as presentations to city council to talk about the things that are being proposed to be changed or being requested. And then sometime in October that council has on 2 readings to adopt the budget. And Marcia's right. I mean, it's hard enough for us in our own area to have a full understanding of what we do, let alone some 7 members of council, and I don't mean this disrespectful at all, but there's no way they could learn the detail. It's a job to know that, and I think the city with Jim Golden and staff have excellent people that do really good work, and I think they have earned the trust of council, and council knows when to ask questions and to push where it's important for them. I hope I didn't misspeak there, Marcia.
Well, some council members are savvier about it than others, but and I'm not counting myself in the savvy group particularly, but sorry, in terms of budget process, I tend to compartmentalize, and so it's a matter of faith, and I'm not thinking, oh wait a minute, I could insist on some detail for the senior center. I will confess I have not done that in the past. Slow learning curve. It takes 5 years.
Thank you for correcting me on that. I was apparently wrong on that one part of it there.
Yeah. So long story short, the more you're communicating either directly with council or asking Marcia to communicate for you, the more your message will be heard.
Okay. Do you agree with that?
I do, and again, the strongest thing is to propose resolutions.
Okay.
Make proclamations. I mean, they usually come from residents, but there's a process for getting, if there's like for, an Age Well Day or something that we would put out, especially in March and April, so that the mayor says something about senior services to the public. That's another good way of communicating, and this board can initiate that and have somebody write the resolution and submit it as a resident. No problems with doing that.
All right. So here's what I propose. We beef up that annual report. We make some, starting next meeting, we do some homework. And on the basis of the next 2 or 3 meetings, we will complete our annual report along with recommendations and a resolution to be considered by the city council. And hopefully with 100% consensus of the board. It seems to me if we want to have impact, we've got to do something like that. And it's got to be logical, it's got to be data-based, it's got to be rationale-based. Got to do a good job to have impact. First of all, does everybody kind of agree with my approach?
Yes. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Sure, sounds great.
Okay. So that'll be one thing I would ask you, Ronnie, if you would. We talked about this briefly. I think a good starting point would be a demographic profile. of who are the people that are in the community that say are 55 and older. You know, not just a description of what the clients we serve, but a demographic of the community. And now that's in part a policy decision. How far realistically can you go? You know, can't do everything for everybody. I agree with you. I mean, we can't make one of those, the registration process that everybody will work, that'll work for everybody. We just can't do it. But
I
anyway,
can give you the stat for Boulder County.
Yeah.
Which probably Longmont's gonna be close, and that's 20.5% from the CSOA
is
report
what?
over 65.
Oh, okay.
Although more seniors are moving into Longmont
I
because
have,
of
in
the
fact,
things
I
we
have the CSOA report, so if anybody would like to have a copy of it, let me know.
And we are working on having that reported out to the general public here,
Great.
probably in June.
And
So
can
I
I
think-
just add one
yeah,
thing?
Sheila.
When I was getting coffee, I talked to David and Robin was there, and they're going to start just doing a little check mark when they receive a phone call or over-the-counter contact with a Spanish-speaking person. So just to give us an idea, and they'll do that for a week or so. So we'll understand, a little understanding of what we're dealing with.
Okay. Have you done this before? Have you made resolutions put to the city council? No, you don't.
Not that I
must
know.
be
No,
I was part of the Older Americans Month, so that's May, I believe, and I think we always have a resolution with council that will have the city of Longmont proclaim that we are supporting older adults and celebrating Older Adults Month, so I think that might be an ideal time to look at, like, working something in there,
Stick a little call to action in that
Right.
resolution.
right?
Right, because the mayor would never dare to not observe Older Americans Month. That is not happening.
Right.
Okay.
So, you know,
So we're linking this to the budget process, okay? And, all right. So you're okay with that next time, Ronnie?
Yep, I can do that.
Okay. So, and then you're gonna bring up information on, you're gonna have more information on the folks that might be participating as board members next time?
Yes, I'm gonna check with both.
And what else?
She couldn't make it, she said if somebody was gonna be out, and she didn't know if she would attend this one, so she didn't make it, of course, so I'll meet
Okay.
with her again.
In the customer survey, I think we can discuss, I think that'll fold right into some of the things that we're talking about.
Or if people have their preferences, could they maybe email them, Ronnie? Would you be willing to give an email with their preferences?
Can we
Just
turn
a
them in today if
reminder.
we have them?
Yeah.
Can we just turn them in today if we have them with our name on?
Sure.
And then as far as the activities that we were talking about, the list of activities you had a draft of, if anybody has additional information, I'd really appreciate a little bit more meat on some of those activities. My memory's like a sieve.
So he's referring to the list that I had emailed out
Yes.
a few weeks ago, and Ronnie printed copies of the,
Oh, yeah.
what the
Yeah,
board
okay.
did in 2022. That's part of what we include in the annual report.
Yeah, I would ask each person to review this and yeah, either give me more information or to Brandy, if that's okay.
Yeah, they can email it to me directly.
And
Absolutely.
yeah, this is going to be foundational, in my opinion. It's something for the city council.
I'll say at some point I'll be transitioning away from the board since Ronnie is the liaison from our
Right.
staff now.
Right.
And I'm gonna work to wrap up this report since I started it and help
Yeah.
Ronnie with whatever he needs to add to it as you guys
Okay.
decide.
And Ronnie, I'd like to meet with you sometime this next month on this issue also.
Sounds good.
I would just remind as we start emailing, that the email should be one way to Ronnie, that it should not start conversations amongst board members, because then we start getting into,
Okay. Meetings.
not having, yeah.
Okay. I hadn't thought of that, okay.
Yeah.
Good.
And I'm sorry, I just wanna make sure, so I'm collecting everybody's responses now. and then emailing out top 3 or,
I'm gonna email you
that's,
this afternoon.
that's okay. I just,
Ronnie, do you want, oh, that's at the next board meeting, so there I can do that.
and, somebody had mentioned that they're not receiving email communication.
Beth, and I have a note to make sure
We can update.
we address that. Yeah.
Okay.
And Jeff, I'd like to,
Did you collect your
just-
email?
Yep, I'll get you that.
I'm gonna ask you for a couple more things.
All right,
And if you have my email.
all right, have I omitted anything?
No.
Forgotten anything? Screwed something up?
You're doing a good job.
All right, let's have a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Julie, is there a second to that?
Sheila.
Who's first? Okay,
Oh.
Sheila is first. Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Hi.
We stand adjourned.